Let me ask you a question. What happens when you balance your finances, career, and your well-being? There's no limit to what you can achieve. I'm Jalen Vickery, your host and guide on how to build wealth with wellness. Living in a world of information overload and misleading highlight reels, Finance Fitness Finesse is a podcast to help you realize you're not woke, you're broke, and how to change that in your favor. If you're looking to elevate your wealth, well-being, and discover the power of balance, tune in to learn why money matters but wellness counts.
Money is something we have, it's not something we are, but that isn't how we're taught to think.
Hey Finessers! Welcome to another episode of Finance, Fitness, and Finesse, where we build your wealth with wellness. I'm your host, JaeVic, and thank you for joining me for the Savvy Scholar, where industry experts share their insights on building wealth, managing stress, and living a balanced life. Before we get into the show, Finessers, it only takes a second to leave a rate and review. This really helps me refine the show to our needs and continue to grow our lifelong learner community. You can find it at the top or bottom of the show page. Today's guest is a key person who actually introduced me to the world of financial therapy. This guest has dedicated over 5 years to helping people understand both the emotional and practical sides of money. He's the founder of the Financial Therapy Clinical Institute, where he works to support individuals in reshaping their relationship with money through a blend of therapy, counseling, and planning. I'm so excited to have Nathan Astle here to talk about the real impact financial therapy can have and how he works to help others make money human. Let's get into it. So we've talked a bit about how shame and guilt are unfortunately the core emotions that a lot of people feel around money, or specifically when they would come in for financial therapy treatment. But what are some of the other common emotional or psychological issues that people face when it does come to money?
A lot of it has to do with our emotion regulation ability. And so this is kind of my own theoretical model coming out as far as how do people make change, but I tend to focus in two areas. One is how do we deal with our emotions when they get really big? And the other part is how do we create relationship dynamics that are safe and that help us regulate our emotions? So I would say the three areas that come up when people reach out to me for financial therapy is usually one of three groups. One, couples. Couples with financial conflict is probably 60 to 70% of the people I work with. And that's partly because I've kind of marketed myself that way, but honestly, it is a near universal thing where couples have some kind of financial disagreement and they don't have the skills to work through that disagreement. Another group is people who have financial trauma or think they could, but on some level they see that the way they're doing the money game isn't working. And they know the rules, they know what they're supposed to do, but they just can't seem to follow through with it. And so they're like, well, it must be some kind of psychological thing, which often it is. So couples, financial trauma, and then the last is parent-child dynamics has been coming up quite a bit, where maybe it's an adult child with an adult parent and the parent is supporting that adult child and they have resentment and the money's used as a manipulative tool, or there's some power imbalance because of the money. The other one that I've seen quite a bit as well is adult children who have aging parents, and those aging parents don't have funds, or maybe the adult child sees how the parents are spending and they're worried like, hey, am I going to need to bring you into my home? That's not what I want to do. Maybe my partner and I aren't on the same page about bringing you in. Like, those family dynamics can be really, really complicated. So that's probably the biggest three areas that I work in, but there's certainly more. Like you said, money is a universal thing, so it's all over the human experience.
Yeah, I'm sure we both, and then even you in your experience, has a lot more to experience situationally that will continue to bring about more innovative ideas on how to help as many people as possible and find the commonalities behind the money stressors we all face. I'm wondering, since money can be such a touchy subject and we all have different perspectives and values around money, if you don't mind me asking, because I'm sure you use different types of therapeutic techniques, but is there something around exposure therapy with helping people? Do you try to start off with asking about their values? What is some sort of baseline that you would use to help the relational dynamics that people face when they're distressed by money?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, most of the time, by the time people reach out to me, they know what they're in for. They know they're gonna talk about money with me and they're gonna talk about emotions. I use a lot of attachment theory in my model or how I think about money. So, one of my first goals was how do I make this a safe place to explore? If you remember, attachment theory is about exploring and safety. Can I return to a safe place when I'm feeling distressed? And when I'm feeling safe enough to do so, can then I then go and explore the environment around me? I think of money as like this thing that we need to explore, but first I have to create the safety in our sessions so that they know I take a very shame-free approach to money. I'm never going to say something is right or wrong when it comes to your money choices, 99% of the time. I try and make it something where they know we're gonna go at your pace. We're gonna make sure that you feel heard and listened to. I'm gonna push, I'm gonna gently nudge at times, but I will do so in a way that's consensual, that you feel like, okay, I'm ready to make those steps or I'm not. When we do that, money becomes a much safer experience, which then makes it easier to explore. What are our values? What do we want to change? All that kind of stuff.
I really like that approach with attachment theory because, I mean, one of the first things I learned in psychology is, what's your attachment style? And
Mhm.
that goes relationally. Are you avoidantly attached? Are you securely attached? Things like that. Obviously, I didn't have any financial attachment classes in school. I wish there was something around that line with financial psychology at U of I, but it's okay. I have a lot of really good resources for educating myself and connecting with different people. I do like that you prioritize creating a safe space, right? Because I think there would be a very, very low number of people if we went out and took a survey right now of just the simple question, do you feel safe around money or with your money? And
Mhm.
I feel like there'd be a very, very low score of people who would actually reply yes to that.
Mhm.
And I am happy though that when obviously people are coming to seek your services, they are aware that they are going to talk about money. I work at an eating disorder clinic right now, and one of the things that I'm researching right now and investigating is the parallels between eating disorders and money.
Mhm.
And I am very much an advocate for holistic health, which goes along the lines of self actualization, which is a psychological concept that refers to the process of reaching your full potential. And so that goes right along with holistic well being of finding where are my strengths in regards to my health? Am I relationally healthy, physically healthy, financially, etc.? I have an interest in financial psychology, but obviously I'm there to help someone with their eating disorder and any other underlying factors. But there are things that come up when money is involved in sessions, when they're talking about something they're going through. And my clients are there for their eating disorder, but when I bring up money, there is definitely a discomfort level.
Mhm.
And so I also advocate that, this is a safe space and trying to just help them become more aware and educated of how their eating disorder may be impacting their financial situation. But it certainly is uncomfortable, even in just a therapy session where I'm an unbiased source for someone to come to really discuss a challenge that they're facing. So for anyone out there, just know that if you're meeting with a therapist, they should be unbiased. They should be there to hear you, to encourage you, to challenge you, to go beyond your comfort zone when it's appropriate. I definitely resonate a lot with what you advocate with your business there, Nate.
Yeah, so my professional journey is I got my master's degree in couples and family therapy, and then I also was taking a graduate certificate in financial therapy. After I graduated, I did about 9 months in community mental health, and that was very positive in that it exposed me to a lot of different types of challenges, but it also was a very difficult system to work in. So I started my first private practice called Relational Money, and it's just me, solo practice working in a small town in Kansas where I had gotten my master's. And I was one of maybe 6 therapists in the whole town that specialized in couples work, and so I was lucky to find my groove fairly early. But even when I was in my master's program, I knew that I wanted to have some kind of collaborative institute. The same way, yeah, at your disordered eating clinics, you might have a therapist and a nutritionist or dietitian. You may have a nurse practitioner, depending on who's involved or the purposes of the treatment center. I wanted that same kind of idea, but with financial professionals. So about almost 2 years ago now, opened the Financial Therapy Clinical Institute, which is a super long name. You can also call it FTCI or FTSE. FTSE is weirdly what stuck the last 2 years. So, and how this collaborative practice works is I work with a financial counselor and a financial planner. So, a financial therapist is doing things like your psychological, emotional, relational aspects of money work. Financial counselors are like your skill builders. So if you've never had a budget before, if you need to get a debt management plan together, your day-to-day money management stuff, that's what a financial counselor will work with you on. And then a financial planner does more big picture, saving for retirement, kids' college, saving up for a house, like those kind of what do I need to do in the long run. My institute has a clinic, but it also has a training platform. So we train therapists and financial advisors in some of these techniques, and then we also have a research arm. So it's a pretty big undertaking, but it's also been very meaningful and just fun. It's really fun to work in that kind of environment. And the other nice thing is it's entirely virtual. So my team is spread out across the country, and yeah, that's me. That's what I do in my day to day.
Yes, accessibility, people. You hear that? It's virtual. So whether you're in Illinois, Maryland, or California, you can utilize FTSE. See, I'm using the acronym. You can utilize those resources and finessers. What Nate was talking about earlier in regards to the eating disorder clinic having dietitians, a nurse practitioner, therapists, etc. That is also called an integrated care team or a collaborative care team. What Nate has done is created something. Actually it's the exact mirror of it, but it's actually in the financial therapy space. And I had that exact idea as I was and have been developing my business plan. So when I found your business, your page, and started to see what you were doing, yes, I realized that my idea wasn't original, but it did make me happy because not only did you reach out and became a wonderful resource and mentor for me, but I also see how many people are financially stressed right now and how that's impacting the rest of their life. So I'm not mad it wasn't an original idea. I want more financial therapists like us to come to the scene. I want more young students in psychology or therapy to realize that this is a niche you can get into so we can continue to expand financial therapy services. I really like that you work to make sure that not only the financial therapists are trained, but also the counselors and the financial planners. And so, what I'm hearing here, it seems like you have a system for clients that's also educational. Because I've heard a lot of cases where people meet with a financial advisor or somebody who may not have certain credentials just claiming to be some sort of financial professional, but then they're like, "Oh, I'll manage your money for you." So then someone who's desperate to really change their financial situation may just hand over their money but not actually be taught or understand what's actually happening with it. So to me, it sounds like the Financial Therapy Clinical Institute, you guys actually educate your clients on all parts of money. So whether it is the emotional and relational side or their trauma, but also working with a financial planner that they would understand where their money's going and why.
Yeah, exactly. And all of our services are hourly. It's just like therapy, you pay per session per hour. We don't sell any financial products. We're not trying to get you to sign up for anything. There's no like package agreement. You pay per session. It's the same price no matter which professional you're meeting with. And we also use a sliding fee scale. So what you pay is based on your household income. We try to make this as accessible and affordable as we can. Obviously, just like all therapy, I wish it was more accessible and affordable, but it's a start, and I'm very proud of that start. My goal really is to be to show that the model works and to have bright people like you copy it and make it better. Like I don't I don't want to be the only collaborative team doing financial therapy work. I'm pretty tired of it. I want it to be something that other people take and it grows, and I would love for this to become just a norm, like of course holistic care is just how we operate. And I think we have seen that in some ways in certain parts of the medical field. And I'm hoping that that is something that eventually financial and mental health practitioners work with. Like, of course, an integrative team, that's the way to do it.
For sure. Let's normalize money talk. Let's normalize money acceptance. Let's normalize financial therapy. It's definitely coming, and I'm super excited about it. Speaking of normalization, one thing I did want to ask you earlier when you were talking about how you work with different types of couples and even the parent to child relationship or just different things like that. What have you seen, or what is your take on the influence of gender norms in
Mhm.
relation to money?
Just like religion, that's something that permeates all of society. Is what is a man or woman's role in the financial life? And it's dumb. Like, I'm not trying to be graphic or anything, but like having a penis does not make me any smarter or different when it comes to money. So many
Period.
so many gender differences that we hear about is widely exacerbated. For the most part, humans are the same, no matter what. Unfortunately, from a young age, we are taught very differently around money. Traditionally, boys and men are taught how to earn money, and girls and women are taught how to save money. Of course, there's also the other kind of sexist messaging we get about like, oh, well, she just loves going shopping and just loves it. And it's silly, it's harmful, and it's gross. I'm always going to advocate for egalitarian financial practices. Egalitarian just means we're equal. We share in decision making. And I get that every couple does it a little differently when it comes to how they actually manage the money, how they actually function. Like, if one person is easier for them to pay the bills, like that's fine. But the important thing is that everyone has the same information, that no one's kept out of the loop about what's happening. And also, both of you have equal say. It doesn't matter who's making more. We need to value unpaid labor just as much as we value paid labor. This needs to be something that we share as a team. And so, those kind of gender norm things, I'm usually quick to squash when people come to me like, oh, no, hang on. Like, why do we think that? Can we challenge these assumptions? A lot of times it does more harm than good.
Gender norms handicap us in so many ways. I have clients who are, stay-at-home moms, and their partner may come home, or it could be a stay-at-home dad too, but their partner comes home and they're just like, "Oh, I wish we had two incomes." And then the partner who's staying at home offers to work, but then is like told that they may be like lazy or not doing something, like whatever it is. Just because you don't have some sort of gross income over your head, like some sort of number, like that does not dictate your worth as a person. Because if you're actually a team with whoever you're living with, you need to look at what do they bring to both of your lives. And that doesn't have to be a numerical value. If you really want to figure out a numerical value, there's a lot of research out there, especially in regards to the stay-at-home parent, of what they can actually provide in regards to the trade-off of services if you actually hired a nanny, cleaner, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But gender norms also handicap us because not only does it limit our perception of our capabilities that we have, so like what you were saying of how traditionally males are taught how to make money, be business owners, whatever it is, and then women are taught to embrace different roles. I think that is definitely rapidly changing, luckily. However, though, it still can take longer for women to embrace the fact that they are capable of understanding money and using it wisely. Even on the reverse side, not to put all of this pressure on boys or men, because I know there are some guys out there that are like, I'm expected to make all the money and I have to be the man of the household. And that can really take a toll on a person's self-worth, having so much pressure to provide. When a guy doesn't feel like he's living up to certain societal milestones, that gender norm is equally as damaging. There's definitely a lot of work to be done on both sides. I think it is definitely evolving, but I'm right there with you that where does this perspective come from? Let's be open to talking about it so we can evolve with it together. It's definitely important to stay mindful of as we continue forward as a society in our culture.
Yeah, you're spot on. Patriarchy hurts men and it hurts women. The other thing that I would say is even if you are someone that considers yourself pretty progressive or, I want an egalitarian marriage or relationship, these gender norms are sneaky. They creep in. So even if you and your partner are like, we try really hard to be equal, we try really hard to do things, in a shared way, we have to keep ourselves open to the fact that the way we grew up, the way our culture is, it still impacts us. So it's one of those things that you have to be on the lookout for because even as our culture has changed and, yeah, we're a lot different than we were in the 50s, at least a lot of us culturally are. It's like a poison. It just still sticks around. And I think it's going to take, quite honestly, generations to undo some of the harm that these gender norms have perpetuated. One resource I really like is called Fair Play by Eve Rodsky. It is a book about sharing the mental and emotional burden of managing a home. It's a really good starting point for how do we actually structure our lives, and this includes money, in a way that both partners are equally invested, equally in charge of making sure the home functions. It can be a little difficult because the first few chapters are written to women's struggle, and there have been some of my more traditional clients that where the men have been offended by that and get on the defensive, but push through it. There's really, really good stuff in there. So yeah, Fair Play by Eve Rodsky. There's also an audiobook version as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for these resource recommendations. I know I definitely eat those up and add them to my list right away. So I hope anybody listening to this is as passionate as me or working to embrace just a different perspective, because that's what it all comes down to, is being open to new perspectives so that you can evolve and grow into the person you want to be and build a lifestyle that you really want. Nate, thank you so much for joining me today on Finance, Fitness, Finesse. What is a takeaway that you want to leave our lifelong learner community and fellow finessers with?
You can probably afford to be kinder to yourself, and you've never had an unemotional money experience. It's why we hit this so hard around emotions and money and mental health is this isn't something that we can reduce down to numbers as much as we want it to be. This is inherently an emotional experience. So if we can use psychological tools and techniques to work with those emotions, we're going to not only be in a better mental health state, but also we're going to make better financial decisions. If this is something that you're struggling with, I'm happy to point you in the right direction with whether it's me as a professional or if you just want to find another financial therapist. My institute has one of the tabs on the website is called Resource Library. We have skills, worksheets, tools you can use in changing your relationship with money. So I want this to be a safer place overall to talk about. So thank you for having me, and I'm excited to hear what happens next.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Finance, Fitness, and Finesse. A big thank you to Nate Astle for sharing his journey and expertise with us. Remember, dimensional wealth is key to building a better future, and with community leaders like Nate, we're one step closer to a financially empowered society. If you enjoyed this episode, which I hope you did, help me learn with you and be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It helps our lifelong learner community grow, and it's much appreciated so I can keep catering the show to our needs. Stay tuned for more episodes where we continue to build your wealth with wellness. I'm JaeVic, and please don't act woke and be broke. Until then, stay savvy, and if you don't know, now you know. Disclaimer, this podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute financial or mental health advice. Always seek professional guidance tailored to your personal needs.